Welcome back to Frontend Hire. Today we are going to build a marketing website with a zero cost CMS. This marketing website could be a personal website or it could be a company website. In fact, I already got good response for this course on Reddit, and Astro team also featured the course on their how-to articles. All right, let me zoom in a bit and remove this distraction. Let's get into the course now. So why did I design this course? I designed this course to help freelancers and beginners set up content-driven websites. And this is a very common requirement when you're starting off as a freelancer or as a dev studio. And there are a lot of CMS solutions, but most of them are pretty pain to work with. And if you're a developer, you know how to already work with Markdown. You might have seen those README files that you write on GitHub. And in fact, most of the blog posts out there can also be formatted in Markdown. But your clients and the other non-technical folks might not be comfortable working with Markdown, Git, or code in general. But like I said, these requests for marketing and landing websites are extremely common. And this course will walk you through building one of these sites in a way that allows anyone, whether they're technical or not, to update content all at zero cost. Now, a marketing or a landing site usually has two main parts. And the first part is the presentation layer, all the design, styling that users see. For example, this very web page, this sidebar, all these links, and this particular font, and everything is the presentation layer. But the actual content is just a markdown file. If you go, Frontend Hire is an open source platform. The entire code is visible. So if you go check it out, it's all formatted in a format called MDX. It's just markdown with a little bit of extensions. And this content can live in many places, by the way. Frontend Hire repo, the content lives with the repo, but sometimes you could also keep this content on a CMS like Notion, or even in a database, or even just in the website files like we are storing here. But here's the challenge. What if your clients want to edit the content themselves or not bug you? And this is where CMS platforms come in, and most of them solve this problem but come with a price tag and a lot of opinions. And recently I found out a very good solution, and that is what I'm going to show you here. And it's going to cost you nothing, and you can get ready in maybe 30 minutes or something. Coming to the course content, it's pretty short, and this course will only cover the CMS part of things. Even though it got featured on the Astro blog, it's mostly about Pages CMS, the solution which I'm going to introduce. But yeah, this course will use Astro. I like it. It's very good for anything content driven. So if you have a marketing website or a documentation website, Astro should be the one you should be using. In fact, Frontend Hire, the old version of Frontend Hire was built on Astro. Now I moved to Next.js with Fumadocs, but my personal website is powered by Astro. My company's marketing site is also powered by Astro. So I do use Astro at many places. And the other part is the actual CMS solution. This is called Pages CMS. We'll talk about it soon. All right. Just like all the other courses, I have created another repo which you can just use to kickstart this course. But honestly, this course is mostly going to be done online. In the sense, we are just going to be working with Pages CMS. So you can just watch this video or just read the course. But otherwise, if you want to get your hands dirty, go ahead. You can clone the repo, and I use PMPM, so just navigate into the repo and install it. And let me just do that quickly for you. I use PMPM, so just use PMPM install, and let me open this in the editor. All right. We'll discuss about the actual project structure pretty soon, but for now, just get started with this project repo. Let me also run the dev server. Looks like Astro already upgraded something, but yeah. Astro is deployed on localhost 4321. So let me bring that here. But yeah, if you navigate the project, you'll see it's a very basic website with a couple of blog posts, and we'll discuss how these blog posts are stored in a moment. But yeah, a quick note, in order to see Pages CMS work in action, you have to publish the repo to your GitHub account, because Pages CMS is going to work through Git and GitHub, and you need that. So make sure after you clone and install the dependencies and everything, just publish it to your GitHub account. You can keep it private too. You don't have to make it public on anything. And I will discuss in the next section when we are setting up Pages CMS on how to give the permissions. All right. So what is Pages CMS? If you look at the landing page, they say they are the no hassle CMS for static sites generators. And the sub description is tired of juggling Git and YAML to update your Next.js, Astro, Who, or Next website. Make it easy on you and your team. Get a user-friendly CMS running straight on top of GitHub. Yeah, that is essentially what Pages CMS is. Again, Pages CMS has nothing to do with your tech stack. It just works with a single file called pages.yaml, and you can use it with Next.js, you can use it with React, you can use it with any of your UI libraries and frameworks. And it used to be premium previously, but the author decided to just make it free and open source. So yeah, it is free, and you can also self-host it if you want to, but otherwise you can use their hosted version. It is also free for now. Maybe in the future it could be paid, but you can still host it yourself and it's going to be free. And the main thing is it gives you a very good interface. Essentially, Pages CMS is an interface on top of GitHub that allows non-technical users to edit website content in a simple web interface. They don't have to touch code, they don't have to touch Git, they don't have to touch Markdown, and they get a Notion-like interface where they can write stuff. And like I said, we are just gonna use the online version of Pages CMS in this course, and you don't have to self-host, and you can just be up and running in just less than 30 minutes. I'm gonna give a quick intro to how it works. So it works by connecting directly to your GitHub repository. In fact, when you sign in, it's gonna ask you permissions for GitHub, and instead of storing the content on a separate database or anything like that, it just stores it in the repo itself, and it's going to edit Markdown or JSON files that already live in your repo. At a high level, this is how it's going to look. So a user logs into Pages CMS, edits text, images, or metadata through a clean web interface. They click on save, and which prompts the Pages CMS to commit those changes when you hit save. And yeah, it just creates a commit and it pushes to your repo. Now, if you have statically deployed your website, whenever there's a new commit, your site will rebuild. And most of the existing hosting providers like Netlify, Vercel already do this. Any new commit will automatically trigger a rebuild and deployment, and your site goes live. So here's the thing, Pages CMS is good for static site generators. So your site has to be statically deployed. If you want a very dynamic solution, like if you have your content updating every few minutes or few hours, maybe this is not for you, but I would say that's not the case for many of us. So Pages CMS is great. And in short, yeah, Pages CMS acts as a Git-based editor for your content. It gives you a very friendly interface, and it's quite simple too. It doesn't distract you much. Alright, I'm gonna walk you through on how to set up the Pages CMS. I'm gonna do it here through my course notes itself. This is because I've already set up Pages CMS on my GitHub account, so you won't see these steps, and I don't want to disconnect all the repos where I'm using Pages CMS. But yeah, these images should guide you well. Quite easy. Sign in with your GitHub account here. This is going to take you to app.pagescms. Sign in and use your GitHub so you don't have to be prompted again and again. You can also use other providers to log in, but just use GitHub. And then you would land up on a page like this where you will be prompted to add an account. By then I was already using Pages CMS for my company website, and you can see that I'm already using it in production, so that's why I'm suggesting something like this. But yeah, most probably when you click on install, it's going to ask you where do you want to install. Here I have multiple accounts, that's why I'm seeing such an option. If you don't have multiple accounts, most probably you're going to go directly to the next step. But yeah, this is a very safe step, so choose where you want to install. In this case, let's say I want to install it on my primary account, which is my personal GitHub. Now, this is the important part. Here, you don't want to install it for all repositories. All repositories is, I think it's the default selection, but change that to select repositories. This is, even though Pages CMS is safe, it's from a trusted author, giving full permission to all your repositories, not a good idea. Just make sure you're installing Pages CMS where you want to use it. So yeah, make sure you only select repositories and choose the repo which you pushed previously, and click on install and authorize. I think I can now move into the code. All right, great. Now you should also be seeing something like this. And I'm just going to do one more step. You don't have to do this, which is basically I'm going to switch my branch to something else so that I don't disturb the course repo. So I'm just going to create another branch. I'm just going to call this for video. Perfect. So now I'm on the for video branch, and I can just play around here. Now all you have to do here is click on create a configuration file. Now you don't know what's happening here, but if you actually go inspect the repo, right? I'm just going to do that here. I'm just going to go into the for video branch. You would see that we will have a commit from Pages CMS, and it has created a pages.yaml file. So you're already understanding that whatever changes you do here, it's essentially pushing commits to your repo. Before we write the actual configuration file, I want to just quickly show you how the Astro project is set up. So we have a source folder which has all the presentation stuff, and also another file called contentconfig.ts. This is essentially a type safe way of letting Astro know how is my content structure. So I have blog collection, and it's gonna take a loader which has the base as blog, and that is nothing but at my root, there's a blog folder, and it's going to look for all the MD and MDX files in there. And the actual schema, apart from this metadata, there's also the actual content. Keep that in mind. But yeah, so each blog entry has a title, has a description, has a published date, and has an image. Now you can read Astro's docs for more about content collections. This is what we call them, content collections. But there are different ways to do this in other frameworks too. And you don't even have to worry about this if you don't want to worry about type safety. But yeah, let's quickly go check our blog post. So this, for example, this very markdown style guide blog post, you see it has metadata, which is nothing but title, description, published date, and hero image. And our images comes from the assets folder within this blog folder. And this is all markdown. Cool. So this is very basic, simple, and this is how my project is structured. You don't have to worry about any of the other files. And if you really want to understand how Astro works, go do the Astro's official tutorial. It's quite nice. You build something similar and you get to learn a lot more things about Astro. Great. Now let's get back to our pages.yaml file. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to look at my assets on pages.cms. So for that, we have a key called media, and we can let it know the input and the output. So I'm going to just quickly copy this. I'm just going to paste this here. We will talk more about output soon, but for now understand that I'm telling Pages CMS that my media input is located inside the blog folder at the root and inside the assets, which is nothing but my blog at the root and then the assets. And the moment I click on save, you should see a tab pop up to your left. And if you go check that out, all your media files are already here. So Pages CMS is basically looking into your Git repository and figuring out where the image is, right? That's what it does. Now, we figured out the images. Let's also try to figure out the content. So just like the media key, we have a content key. And at a minimum, it's going to need three things. The type should be collection, not collections. But yeah, these three things is going to tell Pages CMS that, just like I said, it's going to be collection, not collections. And here's a good thing. It's a nice thing that I made that typo. Pages CMS has a nice interface where it's going to give you some type safety. So you can see that type must be either collection or a file. So let's make it collection. But yeah, so now what am I telling Pages CMS? That I have my content, call it post, and the path is blog, which is nothing but the root. And again, I'm going to click save. You see my post here, and you could have named it post, and that would have called it post. So it kind of works like a label too. And you can already see that it's already populating all our files. It doesn't do much about assets because for assets, we like images, videos, you just want to use the media key and not the content key. Content key is mostly for files like Markdown, JSON. Now, go check out the actual entry. You'll see that this is the same thing which we are seeing in the editor. And make any change here and click on save. Again, if you didn't understand previously, all it does is creates a commit. So if I refresh, you should see a commit here where we see that update blog first post. That's what we did here. Yeah, that is how Pages CMS works. Now all we have to do is map more of those fields so that we have a very good interface to work with. But yeah, again, this kind of interface is not good. Let's add better things here. So back to my notes. I'm just going to quickly copy this. I don't want to write all of that stuff. So back to our settings. And I'm just going to paste it quickly here. I'm just going to talk about them here. So what were the fields which we had in our markdown file? We had a title, which is a string. We had description, a text area field, a published date for date. So we have a date field and an image. So what are the fields I'm also declaring here? We have the title, which is nothing but I'm giving it a label title and it's a type of string. And all these different field types are documented in Pages CMS docs, so you can go check them out too. And honestly, most of the time if you're struggling with Pages CMS, it's mostly that you're not reading the docs properly and not trying it out here. But yeah, a bit of trial and error and you'll mostly understand what Pages CMS is. And you can see that we have a description and it's a type of text. So text area, think of it like that. We have the published date, which is nothing but the date field, and hero image and image. What does view key do here? So view key is nothing but the actual interface you want to show. For example, I'm just going to quickly remove the title and description and just click on save. Now, if you go back to your post, You'll see that I have my title and description being shown here in a table, nice table, but I don't see my image and publish date, right? So that was the job of the view. So I'm just gonna quickly add them back and click save. All right, back to my post. And here immediately you see that the date and the image is broken. Let's see why the image is broken. Let's click on edit and see, okay, my date is still broken. One quick thing which you can do here to debug is to inspect it. And if you inspect, you're gonna see that there is an additional dot here. Let me try to zoom in. There is an additional dot here. So looks like it doesn't take the proper output, right? So this is where the media key is important. So this thing, all you have to do is you have to let it know that my output is to be configured to a relative part of assets. In fact, an easy way to identify what your output is, just check your actual markdown file and you should be able to figure it out. But again, I also did a lot of trial and errors to figure this output key out. And now if I click save, go back to post, you'll see that the image is now properly visible. The date is still struggling. Again, the problem is here the date is DDMM year format, but in our actual markdown, it's proper month display with date, right? And this is where Pages CMS, at least the latest release, gives us the option to configure it. In fact, let me quickly show you that. Yeah, but the dates is still broken. Let's see why. I talk about the same thing. So that particular key also takes another key called options, and you can tell what the format of that date format is. And this uses date functions underneath. So you can go check the documentation out, but don't worry much. Just set this up in your date and things should work as expected. Yep. All right, let me quickly show you date functions and where is the format and format. So yeah, so like I said, Pages CMS uses date functions underneath and they have this multiple format options you can see, and whatever format you have it's going to be supported. Otherwise, you might have to refactor your dates a bit, but that's cool. All right. So now if I save, go back to my posts, you can see that the dates are also now properly displayed. I can also use a nice native calendar to set them. This is also cool, but where is my actual content? So for that, there is another key that is called rich text. So I'm going to quickly create another key called body, and it's of type rich text. And this is a Notion-like interface for the rest of the content. So let's go back to our post. Let's go back to Markdown style guide. And here is where you see your body, right? This is your actual content. And if you have not noticed, you can reference the images and write Markdown here. Otherwise, if you're not sure what it's supported, you can use Notion like / commands to insert anything, images, and it's going to automatically choose the assets folder for you. So yeah, that is it. That is it about Pages CMS. We covered most of the configuration. All right, all of this was good, but how do you give this access to your clients? Do they need a GitHub account? Absolutely no. We've already installed the Pages CMS client and gave it all the necessary permissions. So when you're going to invite collaborators, you can directly send them an email here and they'll log into Pages CMS and make all changes here. And Pages CMS is going to talk to GitHub, not whoever you invite. So your GitHub access is kind of safe. And how does this look when you send an invite? They'll mostly get an email like this. Unfortunately, you cannot configure this exact email yet. Maybe if you self-host it, go mess around with the whatever recent code they're using. You can also modify this. But one thing which I have to let you know is when you do invite someone and they land up on the same interface, they pretty much see the same view what you're seeing here. They will also be able to see the settings. And this is where checking the docs helps. You maybe want to hide the settings. And for that, all you have to do is create a new key called settings. and set the height to true. Doing this will disable the settings from the tab. So that's gone. And it's only a very UI hack thing. It's at least your collaborators won't be messing with your settings, but you can still come to that page using your URL. So yeah, I'm just letting you know, you want to invite collaborators and want to hide the actual settings. Yeah, this is how you do it. All right. Again, honestly, this is a very good product. I've already used it in production for my company. I would have used it in the past because there were many times when my clients were requesting me an access to their content so that they could update their website. And this is a very good solution if you ask me. I'm not sure if you can see the value yet, but try it out, use it, and you already have a very good CMS solution which you could build out and serve some of your clients. And for now, you saw that we were storing it in GitHub repo, but pretty soon, if the author has the time and is working on it, we can connect different file storages. We can also enable scheduling. You can have a more granular access control. They're also coming with analytics and comments, right? Again, there's literally one guy working on this. His name is Ronan Berder. I'm not sure if I'm getting the name correct. But yeah, he's a talented guy. He also has run an agency in the past. I think he still runs it. It's quite popular in the China-Singapore region, I believe. But yeah, go support the author, fork the repo, start the repo, and maybe sponsor him also. But otherwise, honestly, this solution is already 90% done in my opinion, and it's gonna give you a lot of value for just 10% of the effort. So yeah, go try it out, go support the author, and yeah, again, this was a quick introduction to an amazing tool. I found it to be very productive, and you can honestly let your marketing team control a lot more than just your blog post. You can also just put all the heading text or feature text in some another YAML file or a JSON file, and yeah, just link it to your Pages CMS. It's gonna work, and it's gonna be statically deployed, so it depends on where you're hosting it, but you'll see the changes in less than 2 minutes, at most 5 minutes. All right, I hope you like this course. It was pretty quick, but honestly a very valuable tool if you ask me. And I'll see you soon in another course. Thank you.